Hello, Matt here. Today I want to read from Job 42. And I think I love this piece here because Job goes through this struggle with God and, God and the devil. The devil had a conversation with God and, challenged God that Job wouldn't still love him and wouldn't still want to serve him. And Job goes through his ups and downs just like we do when we go through the desert. We question God. Why do you do this? Why are you doing this? Where's my stuff? Why don't I have blah, 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 blah. And so Job went through this rather very painful experience with God. And he comes to the end and he realizes that he was way out of line. And the interesting thing is, and I'm not an expert on the book of Job, but there's something that just struck me about Job. Job didn't deserve this per se. Now, that might sound strange if you really understand the attributes of God, because none of us deserve anything anyways. But Job didn't do anything. This wasn't God punishing Job for any sins that Job had committed. And that's what his friends thought, And when we go through the hard times, sometimes we have people around us that might say things that are not really of God. I know that when God was breaking me, He used finances to get my attention, or He would have never gotten my attention. And I know that some people said that I didn't have enough faith. My God wasn't big enough, and I was speaking things improperly. I had one dear friend who I love even say something that when I prayed, I prayed in such a way that would render God helpless, because I said, if it be your will. And people just fall in the ditch so often. And Job had friends like that around him that were not speaking the oracles of God. And that's what this is about. It's about Job realizing he doesn't deserve anything. God is everything. God is beautiful. And here's the other thing. God's perfect. So no matter what God's doing or bringing us through, He's perfect. He's perfect. He's not making a mistake. That's a tough one. Let's read Job 42. Then Job, this is called Job repenting, and then God restoring. Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do everything, and that no purpose of yours can be withheld from you. You asked, who is this who hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I did. Therefore I have uttered what I did not understand. Job's admitting, I was speaking and I didn't know what I was saying. I was a fool. That's what Job's saying. Then check this out. Things too wonderful for me, which I did not know. Job says wonderful. He questions God, and then he says these things are too wonderful for me. I didn't know about them because they're just too wonderful. See, our finite minds don't understand all that God's doing and all that God has done. We can't comprehend it, so we really struggle sometimes when He lets us suffer. Then Job says, listen, please, and let me speak. Job's really being humble now. Listen, please, God, let me speak to you. You said, I will question you, and you shall answer me. I have heard of you by the hearing of ear, but now my eye sees you. See, Job says, I heard of you. I knew you from afar, but now I really know you. Now I see you. Isn't that interesting? Job knew of God, but he didn't really know Him until he went through the suffering. And that's the same with us, isn't it? We can get lost in the suffering sometimes, but I know for my own sake, from my own past, I would have not known God had He not stripped me from all my titles and all my wealth and all these things. I wouldn't know Him. I wouldn't have been born again, because I didn't think I needed Him. I just wanted Him as the title. I just wanted to be a Christian, to have the insurance policy, which is, of course, not being born again at all. But when He lets us go through these things, then we really see Him for who He is. And the ironic thing is, we see Him as beautiful. We see Him as perfect, even through the suffering. That's the miracle. Then verse 6, Job says, therefore I abhor myself, and I repent in dust and ashes. Job says, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed at how I asked you, the Creator, as if we should ever question God. And then remember how God told Job, hey, do you tell the rain when to fall? Do you tell the ocean how far to go? This is what we need to do. I'm preaching to myself here too, because sometimes I can still get in that pity party mode. Oh, woe is me, Lord. When are you going to open up? When are you going to answer? I should repent in dust and ashes because God is so good. And then God kind of rebukes Job's friends because they weren't speaking from God, although they were pretending to. I'm going to skip down to the 10th verse here. And the Lord restored Job's losses when he prayed for his friends. I love that. Even though his friends were not giving him the truth, even though they were not speaking from God, even though they were speaking falsehood, Job prayed for him. Wow, now that's a humble servant. He loses everything. His children have died. He's been through hell, literally hell and back. And the people that were hitting him when he was down, the lowest, what does Job do? He prays for him. And what did God do in response to that? Indeed, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had had before. Wow, that's just amazing. Job gets persecuted for really God's glory, nothing he did. He questions God. He goes through the ups and downs that we all go through. And at the end of the day, even after getting dinged from his supposed best friends, getting bad advice, Job prays for him. God restores him twofold. That's an amazing story. That's an amazing God. I hope that encourages you. Peace.